Hey, baby, I'm Marcus Garvey, and I'm the Omnissiah.
Welcome to Jackass.
And I am one of his loyal followers from Cincinnati.
Welcome to
And
Jackass.
I'm the anti-pope.
Oh,
Whee!
and I'm just that one desert man.
BTFO Pagus and the Thomases.
Mr. Sandman.
Imagine there's like a tribe
Give
of
me
like
a tree.
anarcho-primitives who founded like before the fall, and then they're just like, it's time to spread the word. We figured out how anarcho-primitives can work. It's been 200 years. Let's go. And like everything's shit. Let's go back. Back to the woods.
Back to the woods. We're more advanced than everyone else. Plot twist.
Do you think like Sandman and like California now is not like actually the Dream Dude? It's actually like a terrorist organization.
Well, what do you mean?
Because
Why?
because SoCal always invades Arizona.
Oh, so Arizona.
So it's like a freedom fighter, like terrorist organization.
Yeah, can you imagine just like a rust cultist? He finds like some CDs, he blows the dust off. He's like, "What's this? Hotel California," and then you lead like a crusade against California, looking for
the place you can never leave. The place you can never leave.
Yeah. No, I can totally see them finding like old albums, but at that point, like most of the music things that we used like would have disintegrated. Right?
Yeah.
Probably
like,
the little
especially
disc.
albums.
What do you mean?
You know what song is like banned in consumerist faith?
What?
This land is my
your
land. Your land is-
Yes, Woody Guthrie is one of the demons of socialism.
This song is heresy. Why? I don't know.
They're afraid. That's why they can never invade Oklahoma. They're afraid of Woody Guthrie.
Is the United Front song banned in the consumerist religion?
Yes, Phillips, Billy Bragg, the whole gang, all the communists. And in the Rust cult, they're just confused for like machine worship or something.
Yeah, probably.
I thought you were going to say they're just confused machines, and that would have layered a whole new level of lore on it.
How did the end happen? What do you mean? We caused that.
The Rust cult is a sudden.
I'm rusting.
Yo, welcome to the desert of the real.
Oh god.
Why do you think we're Rostmen?
He takes the pill to get out the AtE universe, and there's not much difference.
Oh no! Oh, in Ohio, ouch! Fuck.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
Here's the red pill. Here's the blue pill, and I also have the black pill. But you don't want to know what that does.
And this is the rusty pill.
And this is the Rust pill. Welcome to.
Here's the rust pill. It's gonna give you tinnitus.
The rust pill is like the red pill, only instead of fighting the machines, you worship them. That's true.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah. When the Rust cultists ascend and turn into robots.
I want an event chain where like someone fixes up a freaking
Car.
Oh my god, I can't think of that. It's in my head. A tractor. He picks up a tractor. He's going around. He's like, "This is the best thing ever."
No,
like the holy weapon.
Like in all seriousness, like
He's like, "Look how much grass it can clear."
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I feel like the Rust cultists like.
Do you think like those
a
big tractor things, the big things that are like that, like cover whole like big sweeps of land, would be seen as like holy weapons?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, the big combine that go across an entire acre.
God, that's actually kind of terrifying. Imagine like medieval warriors trying to fight that.
They wouldn't. They would just die.
They'd be shredded up.
But also, if they were wearing... No, okay, so if you were sending Southron peasants up against it, they would just die. But if they're, like, armored in any way, it's just going to ruin the combine.
True, but it'll kill a couple.
It'll
Do you
kill...
think it freaks out rest cultists? Like, you just have to, like, put a combine out there, and their armies would just think it's, like, a demon and start attacking it, and you can blink them and stuff.
Like, pull out your flashlight, they're scared.
What is that?
I mean, that would be a...
The sun in a stack!
We have insulted the gods. All is lost.
The rest cultists are gonna orbital like bombard us now.
Edison is their god of light, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they worship Edison. Like, I think their proper, like, good gods are, like, Vulcan, Father Ford, the Omnissiah, and the Motor Force.
Who's the
So,
Messiah?
but of course, I've thrown in a, what's it called? GM, but it was no, it was Chrysler. It was Chrysler.
Oh. Is Chrysler just like a car?
Mm-hmm.
They thought.
Well, Chrysler is a car company. Yeah.
Yeah, I just imagined that they don't actually believe Chrysler was like a human being. He was actually just a car.
Oh no, it's just it's very much just like it's a union of tech priests that like built the entire kingdom of Michigan or something.
Oh, I see. Seem pretty cool.
Something like that. No, it's a lot of ancestor worship because it's supposed to be. All right, so the thing is like obviously the Norsemen and the Yupers are supposed to reflect. Well, Yupers are technically Finnish and Norwegian, but the Norsemen are supposed to reflect like North Germans. But the Rossmen are supposed to reflect South Germans. So you would have what's it called? So you'd have may I acquire a fucking yeah. You would have like Bavarian influences, Rhinelander influences, Austrian influences for them.
Cool.
Basically, like, okay, so the type of Germans that the Romans fought. Yeah, okay, so like the Pennsylvanians, the Pennsylvanian, the Deutsch, because they're all Amero-Deutsch. The Rossmen and the Deutsch are both Amero-Deutsch, just like the Norse and the Minnesotans are. But those are supposed to be, obviously the Deutsch takes a direct inspiration from American Amish culture, which that's well and fine, but for the Rossmen,
It's Rich Brian.
but for Rossmen, it's a combination of like basically Rust Belt culture, but I've interpreted their fighting style to be like the heavy infantry of South Germany.
Yeah.
So, we should probably try and focus on the lore that's
No. Who cares?
Are we actually recording this?
Yeah, we actually.
Yeah, we're actually recording this, and I think John's finally gone over, got a permit for the additional shit posting there, John.
How do you take this picture? No, I don't. You're gonna catch me alive, Copper.
Are we just gonna dance around Catholicism and its heresies? Fellow religions.
Yeah.
Everything is a heresy of Catholicism. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, I'm a Rust cultist. What am I doing?
98% of Catholics are heresies of Catholics.
That's actually true, but okay.
Yeah. All right. So
we all know Nestorian's the true religion of Christianity.
Thank you for sticking around this long if you've gotten this far.
This is the only reason why they've gotten so far.
Yeah, hit that like button, smash that bell.
Smash that bell. Don't actually subscribe. Just smash the bell icon.
So you can know when we're updated with videos.
DM me if you've got
if
nice
you don't
shoes.
subscribe right now, I'm gonna come to your house.
No pro Jared posting.
Oh, can we send his nudes?
Now, one thing that about me. What was the name of that family in New York that was set about him?
The Waynes?
Yeah.
The Waynes?
No, the Waynes are Hamiltonian. The Waynes have a heresy of Americanism. Hamiltonian.
Oh.
Yeah, don't confuse it with Cameltonian.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Oh fuck, oh hell.
Nice, Mr. Joester. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be talking about how Catholicism basically got Christ. This is so fucking derailed. We might not want to post this one, John.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do, actually.
I'm trying to muster up the concentration to actually get around to talking about Catholicism.
So, how how Catholicism spread throughout the USA. They talked about this guy named Jesus, and he's really cool.
In this second video, or really podcast of the After the End lore channel,
Hi.
one that's probably going to trigger several variations of, because people aren't going to like what we say.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna
controversy. It's the best thing that a YouTuber can have, right?
do the Americanism. We're going to have a bunch of first off, we're going to be small, but we're also going to have the highest number of heresies in the goddamn game.
Every one of us is going to be... Well, okay, see, one of us can be normal Americanism, one of us can be Hamiltonian, one of us can be Libertarian, one can be Jeffersonian.
And then there's the Thomasist.
And then there's a Thomasist. And then
Which is
technically Cultus is like a very distant relation of Americanism too.
Shake my head. No mention of AtE. This is why I'm making my own mod.
Causes in the general chat, like the what's it called?
The Civil War.
After the End spin-offs just get so swollen with everyone creating so much.
There's already 2 European mods being made.
Wait, are there really 2 European mods being made?
Yeah.
Independent of each other.
After the end Civil War in Europe.
I've seen this movie. It doesn't end well. 2 visions for Europe.
Oh no.
All right, we'll stop the convo there before we upset some people. All right.
Stop there.
So, how about them Catholics?
Right. So
yeah.
Catholicism in the Catholic Church in After the End of America is either the spiritual continuation of the Old World Catholic Church or like the biggest darn heresy you can possibly imagine existing.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what happened when the fall occurred. The last pope that's known in North America, Petrus Romanus, that ruled in Rome, as in the European Rome. Contact was lost with him, and the Catholics in the New World basically had no connection to the Old World.
And so they started to have a lot of parties.
Because they were spread out across America, with significant numbers in the Midwest, but also on the Eastern Seaboard, but they kind of turned to their own religions.
Because they're a bunch of hippies.
Yeah, in the Midwest, most of them started taking orders from the Bishop of St. Louis, who kind of served as the spiritual head of the American Catholic world, at least the United States Catholic world, during the fall. Canada was a different situation, but I'm sure Moore wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then in 2167, like all the popes from the fall on, nobody's really sure about like if they're legendary or they existed or if their roles were inflated. Even Petrus Romanus may or may not have existed. And the first like solidly known pope was Redeemed the First, who became pope in 2167.
Yeah,
I have that all written down.
Yeah, so a lot of the history between 2666 when the game starts and the fall, which is generally estimated to be in the latter half of the 20th century, like around 1975, 1980. Keep Stuart Little out of this. That red
How about them Catholics?
All right, yeah. Getting back to the Catholics. All right, so basically the Catholics in the Midwest, like Iowa, Missouri, Louisiana to some extent, well, Louisiana to a great extent, all started following the Bishop of St. Louis. This was the Catholics in the South and like Ohio and Indiana also started following the mandates of the Bishop of St. Louis. Now, this was... Wait a minute, no, shit, that's wrong. Okay, it was a decentralized church. Yeah, I totally got that backwards. It wasn't the Bishop of St. Louis for a while.
There was a council of cardinals in St. Louis who would elect the Pope. And the first we know about was Redeemed the First to
Yeah.
like lead the Catholics because they didn't have any other Pope that they could contact.
Losers.
And there were some Catholics who did not like that idea.
Okay, shit. I get the
Colorado.
feeling we're starting in too deep. All right,
You're right.
to describe what initially happened was that the fall came and organized religion basically. No, organized religion didn't go with it, but Christianity, which has always been strong in North America,
Not always. I don't think before Columbus.
Well, before Columbus, but in the context of the mod. All right, so what happened was in the South and in the Midwest, you had something called the Ecumenical Council, which was basically every flavor of Christianity. You know, Catholicism, Baptist, Evangelical, Methodist, Lutheran, all the different Protestant sects and Catholic sects. Aside from like the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, and the Amish, they all broke off and they formed those two broke off and formed their own churches. But the rest of the Christians got together and formed the Ecumenical Council to try to figure out what Christianity was going to do following the apocalypse. So the Ecumenical Council basically bounded together to try to stabilize Christianity in what was basically the apocalypse. It mainly operated out of the South, which has always had, since colonial times, an extremely strong Protestant tradition. And there was a smaller breakoff in the Midwestern Catholics. Right. So basically, what the Catholics did, since the Catholic Church has always been more hierarchical than the different Protestant denominations, like if you go into an American Protestant church, right, it's going to basically be the preacher and the people who go to that church.
Yeah.
If it's not denominational, there's no hierarchy. There's no bishop above. There's no bishop above that. It's much more decentralized than the Catholic hierarchy. So in the Midwest, what you had going on was basically the different Catholic bishoprics and cardinalships that were left following the end kind of perpetuate itself across the Midwest, kind of forming a new Catholic Church that worked in tandem with Quebecois up in Canada, who were also heavily Catholic. So what you saw then was different styles in governing. The Catholics still had their hierarchical system, which actually at that point started to appeal more to the common people because when the world ends and like your family is starving, you're not really
thinking about
really
Jesus Christ
on that rugged individualism.
I don't really care about Jesus Christ. Let's make our own religion about some guy with a powdered wig and his son, I think. He got killed.
Yeah, George Washington's son, Jesus.
Yeah, this was about the time you started seeing the different old world cultists, which we'll cover in another video, of like the Americanism, the Rust cult, which would appear much later on, Atomicists, the Revelationists, start to split off because, for the most part, the Ecumenical Council was inefficient in actually solving like the problems of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the Catholic Church, that's why the Catholic hierarchy started appealing to a lot of the Midwestern and Western common people because of their system of providing alms, being more structured, helping to stabilize whatever state they were involved with, as compared to the Ecumenical Council, which at this time, during the 2200s and 2300s, was basically bickering with itself, trying to stop the Revelationists from breaking off, and having like 20 different heresies spout up within the South.
Hey, we're all the true Christianity, I swear, guys. I swear. There's not like
That's what they
20
all
other
say.
religions that are saying that they're the true religion. And if you think differently,
Sedevacantist are the true Christians.
that's
We don't actually know that.
Those historians are the true Christians, clearly.
I mean, there was like a big divide there were two big divides in the post-fall American Catholic Church. One was the Ursulines, who may have kind of like heeded the leadership of the Catholic Church in the Midwest, but also kind of did their own thing. The Quebecois Catholics, they tended more to listen to the surviving hierarchy in the Order of St. Ursula, which was an all-female nun order, than was heeding what the Catholic Church Midwest said. And then there were the Sedevacanists, mainly based out of New York, and I believe it was the Rodham family who adopted a decentralized platform, because they believed there was nobody but the Pope in Old Rome who could possibly actually direct the Catholic faith in America.
Yeah, the Scedavantists believe that there's still a Pope in Old Rome and try to maintain loyalty to him rather than starting to recognize the authority of the Midwestern Catholic Church, which at this point was starting to elect different bishops as the new Pope. Because, by then, it had been hundreds of years since any word had come across the Atlantic Ocean. So you might as well try to provide leadership in the New World.
Yeah, before the whole entire religion falls apart because nobody cares about Jesus anymore, apparently.
Also, to provide some context to that, they weren't just doing this willy-nilly. Had something to do with their beliefs, because the Pope Petrus Romanus is maybe he exists, maybe he didn't, but Petrus Romanus, in an old document called the Prophecy of the Popes, was foretold to be the last pope before the end, and that he would be a wicked man who would lead the faithful astray. And so, to many Catholics in America, it seemed like that had happened, and
that's what caused it.
Yeah, and they needed to set up a new papacy with
praise be,
actual godly men in charge.
Yeah. So basically, they tried to recreate what you see in both Canada with the Quebecois, Mexico with the Sedegado.
But they're not even Christian. They're just they don't even pray to Jesus. They pray to Mary.
Well,
it's a cult
of saints. Yeah, they worship saints, but they're still Catholic in origin, is a thing.
Yeah, true.
And then you have the Midwestern papacy, all trying to basically fix what they believe caused the downfall of the world, which was the wickedness of Petrus Romanus, as in the prophecy of the popes.
Yeah,
is what you said.
Mm-hmm. At least I believe that's what it is.
Yeah. So,
which I didn't make up. That's a real world thing.
Yeah, I know that's a real world thing.
It's a forgery, but definitely, but still.
Yeah. It's just one of those weird Catholic legends that are circulating around. Probably originated actually from the fact that the early Christian church took a lot of pagan traditions in attempts to convert most of the Roman population. Where a lot of these weird Catholic things come from, the more occult sounding of them.
Yeah, or otherwise known as the Revelationists.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have so much I need to tell you guys when I've been thinking about Revelationists. But
have you really?
Those snake guys, they get bitten by snakes. Why is it always snakes?
Because if you get bitten by the snake and you're still alive, it means Jesus loves you.
Fair enough. That's actually kind of a good test. If you die from the snake, that means Jesus hated you all along.
That is literally what these churches do. They got the snake thing from a bunch of churches in Kentucky and Tennessee doing this.
Wait, really? In real life?
Yes, in real life.
Oh my god. That's
They're
beautiful.
banned in every state except one. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, they have and I say this with, like, you can fully put quotes around this, but a biblical basis for that. One is that Paul of Tarsus was bitten by I believe, an asp on Malta and survived.
Mhm.
And the other is a verse in one of the Gospels where Jesus
Do
says
they-
that you will be able to handle snakes and survive. And so they take that as let's show our faith by handling snakes.
By
Yeah.
any chance, do the revelationists believe that if you get, like, in the future, if the revelationists reform, do they believe that the pagan, the heresies are depend on what type of snakes you use?
I was born a Copperhead man, and I'll die a Copperhead man.
Well, the thing is, all you're going to have if you reform Revelationism, you're only going to have old Revelationists as your only heresy. You don't get like custom heresies
I'll
for it.
die, King Cobra. I was bitten by King Cobra. I'll die, King Cobra.
Why
Yeah.
did he die after that snake bite? Well, it's clear that wasn't the snake for him.
He didn't love Jesus enough.
Yeah, getting back to Catholicism, one of the most interesting moments in the history of the Catholic Church, when the Ursulines and the Catholics were actually joined for like a period of 1 year.
Wait, really?
Was it really just 1 year? I thought what it was that
No, it was 2 years. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
All right. Yeah, you want to explain what happened with that?
yeah. So in let me see, 2301, a Ursuline nun named Agrippina, I believe is how it's pronounced,
Yeah, it's like Agrippa.
or Agrippine,
Agrippine.
PewDiePie. Who knows how it's pronounced?
Assuming that she's a Quebecois and it's French, it's going to be Agrippine.
The wolf.
Agrippine. Yeah.
Does the non-religion really matter if they get wiped out by the pirates anyways?
I mean, sometimes they win.
We're talking lore, not game. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened. That is that within 2 years she was forced from the papacy. Yeah, she formed the Ursuline See.
Yeah.
And the guy who replaced her was a Southron. Who replaced him was I believe, Melusignan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those were the last two Southern. There were no Southern popes after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So basically, what happened with that was, up until this point, the papacy had been the papacy, quote unquote papacy, basically the leader of the Catholic world in Canada and America, was based primarily out of the South, still a part of the Ecumenical Council. But with Agrippine leaving the papacy and going north to start the Ursuline See, which to the beginning of the game rules as a different sect nominally of Christianity, but it stems off of Catholicism. She resigned from the papacy within 2 years, and the one who replaced her was a Moulignon, which is like in the Appalachian Mountains, who ruled as the last pope who ruled from the south. From that point forward, they all ruled from the Midwest, and they were all Midwestern cultures. Is that right?
Yeah.
There were Midwestern Chicagoans, some Cajun Texans, but no nobody from the Confederacy or its adjoining areas.
Yeah. So it was all kind of the middle of the country where the Catholics stayed from here on out. And from that point, it kind of just bounced around to the different bishops, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
88 years.
For 88 years?
Mm-hmm. And then in 392, there was a momentous moment in St. Louis which I'm sure you'll want to tell people about.
392. What happened in 392?
2392, I should say. I have this abbreviated.
That's when the Bishop of St. Louis declared St. Louis to be actually New Rome.
Right.
And basically turned St. Louis from that point forward into the established papacy. So it stopped moving around, and from that point forward, anyone who was elected to the papacy would reside in New Rome.
He was as new as they came. He went from being an evangelical bishop like straight to being Catholic Pope.
Yeah, because at that point it was much less about like the dogmas and the traditions of the Catholic Church, which kind of burned on more stringently in the Ursuline See, and it was more about the centralized hierarchical system of the Catholics. So it still maintained a lot of the traditions of the Catholic Church.
Right. And he was, his conversion basically cemented the Midwest as a Catholic realm.
Stronghold. Yeah. St. Louis really, okay, so American Catholicism basically, at this point, stretched down from Texas all the way up to Chicago. That's where it starts off in game. And it with the centralization inside St. Louis, most of the realms, most of the warlords around this area started converting to Catholicism because of the religious power that was located in New Rome. It should be called, but really it's St. Louis.
Leon Lohman, who future redeemed before he converted, was a very popular bishop in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Catholicism actually became so strong at this point that certain Native American rulers started converting to the faith for several reasons. Because when Native Americans broke out of the reservation system that they've been confined on by the United States government, when they broke off of that, specifically the Comanche,
the Comanche
conquered much of Texas, which was primarily Catholic. Which was primarily Catholic. The Nokomo dynasty of the Comanche converted to Catholicism in order to make it easier to rule over these wide swaths of of Texan Catholics. So you have basically Catholicism running from Texas all the way up to Chicago, Illinois.
Right. Chicago was, of course, a major point of Catholicism for a long time.
Yeah, it's a holy site of Catholicism in the game because of the Holy Name Cathedral and quite simply, like if you look at modern American history, there are quite a few Catholics inside Chicago, especially with the large detachments of Eastern European and Southern Europeans who immigrated there during the 19th and 20th centuries.
Of course, leading into the game start, Catholicism has faced some major setbacks. For one, they've lost Louisiana essentially by the game start. John the Conqueror, who was a Botanist,
I'm John the Conqueror.
conquered Louisiana, and he founded the kingdom in 2598.
Yeah.
About 60, 70 years before the game started. And then, of course, if you look at a map of the Catholic world, it's almost completely bifurcated by the two centers of revelationism in the New America.
Oh my
God. Revelationism, which is kind of a combination of like rural Protestantism and syncretic pagan faiths that kind of popped up as the apocalypse occurred. Splits the Catholic realm. The Revelationists are primarily based out of the Tennessee, Kentucky area, basically the northern South. And
What an explanation.
the northern side, basically it falls above the Tennessee River. Anywhere that falls above the Tennessee River, but south of the Ohio River, is Revelationist territory.
Fun.
And then splitting Catholicism in two, there are quite a few Revelationists that have appeared in like the in the West, like where
Why are
oh,
they
no, what
also
states?
Between the branches of the Missouri and the Rocky Mountains.
Kind of like the prairie lands of America, where if you've ever seen the movie Country, There Will Be Blood,
roads,
Right.
take me home.
those sorts of churches, like the little prairie churches that have very influential.
Creationism is, if you want to look at it cynically, it's essentially the
Beautiful.
miraculous stories from the Bible stripped of any context.
Taken from a cynical point of view, Revelationism is basically what happens when you didn't have the combining influence of the Ecumenical Council in the South or the Catholic Church. You had these more isolated Protestant churches that, when the apocalypse came and humans were still left, vast amounts of the population died out because of societal collapse and the breakdown of the food system. But the Christian communities that were left behind either fell into these two major camps, fell into one of the major camps, which would become a descendant of Christianity that you can see in the game, or in the American, the American South, and
Well, if you're a fan writing in broken English, do I have the future fan fiction on the subreddit written in Hawaiian Pidgin for you?
I'll just
Edit out most of this, but we're going to cut in right when he said that.
I have to translate it.
I'm not gonna translate it all. I'm just gonna throw it out in the wild. People are like, what the fuck is this garbage? I'm expecting massive downvotes.
You want to hear my thoughts on revelationism?
Pretty cool ideology,
Okay,
right?
mind you, I don't have Holy Fury or Old Gods. There's only so much I can tell you.
I just want to fill in the gaps here and there.
All right, you remember Prince? A couple days ago, we were talking about revelationism, and I said that revelationism was the weird Middle America stuff. Like the occultists are the weird East Coast stuff.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I think I understand it now.
Do you like? Is your third eye open now? You see everything.
Yes. Okay. The overriding thing of occultism is the other. It's distance. It's dispassion. There's these immense forces we can't understand meddling in the universe. Not even trying to meddle in the universe, just by their existence, upsetting things.
Yeah.
I think the point of revelationism, like in its most cynical, it's what's the one evangelical heresy? A charismaticism stripped of context in its most cynical.
Yeah.
But I think another way of looking at it is to say that the overriding impetus of revelationism is a closeness. I mean, it's a closeness of sort of the people with their, we all think of the backwoods people who live there forever and know like every hill and cranny.
Yeah.
And it's a closeness of the kin. We think of cousin marriages aside, we think of, these like huge families with a bunch of members and everybody knows everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that looking at it, I mean, like, what are their like their big things? It's like the burning bush, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
About the editor thing.
It's more based on them.
Yeah.
It's more based on like tangible things, like things that bring value to you.
And that's my point. It's a closeness between man and the divine. Mm-hmm. Think about charismaticism.
Okay,
Charismaticism is essentially Christian mysticism. It's an attempt to connect with the divine through inviting the Holy Spirit on you, through speaking in tongues, through handling snakes. People shake and they quake. And I think, I mean, this is just my view, and I'm sure this was totally unintentional on the writer's part, but it seems to me that by focusing on miracles in the Bible. They're focusing on, perhaps subconsciously, revelationists are focusing on the divine's, essentially its manifestations. It's the times, that it's coming close to, that God is coming close to man through revealing himself.
Sure.
I think that's what the revelation is. Like, if you wanted to get deep into the revelation of psychology, like I've been getting into the feticist psychology, that's what they're going for.
I mean, yeah, like, look at their entire name. Look at their entire baseline premise of Revelationism. It's based off the book of Revelation, which, compared to the rest of the Bible, is so much more, what's the word for it? Is so much more raw and in your face. It's God coming down and doing something.
We need to cook it a little.
Yeah, I mean, and, it's really a name with a double entendre. It doesn't, it means revelation, but it doesn't just mean revelation in that context.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think we're approaching an hour.
Are we really?
Yeah.
We're going to need to edit this.
We're going to edit the hell out of this, yeah.